Tonight, calling out systemic racism in a Quebec hospital 3 years after the death of Joyce Echaquan.
I don't think you can fix all your problems of food insecurity, especially in Indigenous and First Nations communities, with just lettuce.
And the move is on to grow your own greens in remote communities. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. It was a stormy start for what could be a historic election day in Manitoba. It was already record-breaking before polls opened at 8 a.m. this morning. That's because, according to Elections Manitoba, a record 200,790 Manitobans cast their ballots in the 8 days of advance voting. This election, the province's 43rd, could see a First Nation premier elected for the first time. NDP leader Wab Kinew is vying for the premier's job against incumbent Heather Stephenson of the PCs and the Liberals' Dougal Lamond. The NDP fielded a total of 10 Indigenous candidates, while the Liberals and PCs each have 5. There are 57 seats in the Manitoba legislature. At dissolution, the Conservatives had 35 of those seats. The NDP held 18, and the provincial Liberals had 3. 1 seat was vacant. Polls close at 8 p.m. Central Time. We'll have the full results and reaction here tomorrow. To another election today, this one in the House of Commons, where the first person of color was elected as Speaker. Members of all the parties elected Liberal MP Greg Fergus to the position on Tuesday. Fergus replaces outgoing Speaker Anthony Rota. He was forced to resign last week, embroiled in controversy after he invited and introduced Ukrainian Yaroslav Hunka in Parliament last month. Hunka fought in a Nazi unit during World War II. Fergus says he plans to improve the decorum of the House in his new role. A reunification home was created in Brandon, Manitoba, meant to help parents keep their children out of child family services and prepare them for life overcoming addictions. While it's helped many families during its 4 months of operation, it's getting some pushback from City Council and some residents. Tamara Pimentel has more.
For 3 months, Leonard McIver has been able to live with his wife and son while recovering from his addictions.
He's starting to walk and whatnot. Just making me happy, really happy to be here.
The family is living at the Aurora Reunification Home in Brandon, west of Winnipeg. What used to be the Redwood Motor Motel, a hub for illegal activity, is now a place that provides a safe, sober living environment. Over 20 families live here. The majority are Indigenous. Parents can keep their children out of the child welfare system, learn the basics of parenting while receiving support 24/7. Residents must first go through an addictions recovery program to stay here. For McIver, it's given him a chance to build a stronger relationship with his wife.
We came a long way of healing, so that I love it. It's a good progress,
The program helps Shirley Bolio stay connected with her culture, with access to elders and teachings. Her new addiction? Beating. She says she's been breaking an ongoing cycle of addictions in her family. Her 3 children are now back in her care.
Realizing how bad it was for me to drink and all that. I lost my kids to CFS. I was sick of it, and my kids wanted their mom back.
But owner Michael Bruno says there's been pushback from some Brandon residents and city councillors after applying for a zoning variance. He says he got the go-ahead to run the program before it opened in June.
Maybe I even feel like there might be some racism involved. I went to the city and I talked to the city planners, told them what I was doing. They said, great idea. They love, how's my zoning for hotel zoning is fantastic. So then I went ahead, I wouldn't have purchased the hotel if I knew there'd be problems. So I purchased the hotel, I opened up in June, and all of a sudden I got a call from the city saying I had to get a rezoning.
We do feel this is a special needs housing and as thus is not permitted in our zoning bylaw.
At a public hearing in August, the location, access to playgrounds, and services came into question. The team at Aurora has since fenced in the parking lot and is currently transforming the space into a play area, and a daycare is currently under renovations. APTN asked the City of Brandon more about the issues that were raised at the hearing. No one was available for an interview. In an email, the city states the Planning Commission initially denied the application. On Tuesday evening, City Council will be holding a third public hearing to reconsider. For all parents here, the main goal is to get employment and housing. Even those that leave come back for visits.
We need this kind of place. It's well needed, and like for what it's done for me, like people don't see that, and I wish they can.
Drumming and singing together has been a regular occurrence, introducing their children to culture and a community. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Brandon.
An Indigenous child welfare expert from Saskatchewan addressed the issue of racism in a recent YouTube webinar. She says racist attitudes remain a barrier to reconciliation. APTN's Leanne Sanders has that story.
Raven Sinclair is a university professor and 60 Scoop survivor from Treaty 4 in Saskatchewan. She wrote Wichi-Ituwin, Aboriginal Social Work in Canada. She says racist attitudes remain and are a barrier to reconciliation.
I don't think that it's possible to have reconciliation in such a intensely racially stratified society. And I mean, we can certainly, I think, make improvements in social relations generally. And, you know, as Indigenous people or people, racialized people, I think that we over time, you know, I'm getting older now, is you experience sort of an ebb and flow depending on the political attitudes of the day.
Sinclair says as Indigenous people, we have to do work on our own healing and recovery in order to stand up to racist attitudes, and it can take years.
When we've done that work, we're also doing it for our ancestors who couldn't at the time they were, you know, experiencing such atrocities. But it's really the only way to become really clear about who we are as Indigenous people.
Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
To Quebec now, where a small crowd gathered in front of the Native Friendship Centre in Joliette to commemorate the third anniversary of Joyce Echaquan's death. Echaquan, an Atikamekw woman, mother of 7, died shortly after live streaming racist remarks from her caretakers at a Quebec hospital. Maricela Amador has this report.
Members of the Atikamekw community, advocates, and Indigenous leaders marched toward the Joliet Hospital where Joyce Echaquan died. Justice for Joyce! Justice for Joyce! As echoes calling for justice reverberated through the streets, just like it did 3 years ago.
Aujourd'hui, on voulait se donner un moment d'arrêt, un moment où est-ce qu'on réfléchit à Joyce, à la femme qu'elle était, qu'est-ce qu'elle nous a donné comme héritage, puis qu'est-ce qu'elle a laissé aussi comme trou dans sa communauté, parce que les gens continuent de vivre les répercussions de son départ.
Echaquan's legacy includes Joyce's principle, which aims to guarantee to all Indigenous people the right to equitable treatment in Quebec's healthcare system.
Justice for Joyce! Justice for Joyce!
C.P. Flamand, the chef of the Atikamekw Council of Manawan, said that some gradual progress has been made.
En lien avec l'hôpital, il y a eu la mise en place d'un comité de réconciliation pour pouvoir discuter comment on peut améliorer les soins, comment on peut rétablir la confiance des membres de la communauté avec l'hôpital de Joliette. Mais encore, l'enjeu avec le gouvernement du Québec, c'est l'absence de reconnaissance du racisme systémique.
Consequently, the Quebec government has not adopted Joyce's principle, unlike a number of professional medical orders and organizations in the province.
D'après les membres de ma communauté, c'est préoccupant de devoir aller dans une institution où il y a eu une situation qui a eu lieu. Par exemple, le décès de Joyce Echaquan.
The chief added that the Joliet Hospital, the closest one to the Manawan Nation, must continue working towards building trust. Giselle Flamand, who is from Manawan, said that watching Joyce's live stream was very painful and heartbreaking.
L'impact est toujours là. Il va être toujours là si on n'avance pas, si on ne met pas les mains dans les mains avec les Autochtones. C'est ça qu'il faut faire. Il faut marcher ensemble pour que ça se règle.
Quebec's Indigenous Affairs Minister Ian Lafreniere attended the march but did not speak. Marjolaine Etienne, the president of the Quebec Native Women's Association, said it was important for her to be present at the march to honor Echequan.
Cette journée où un drame est arrivé, on fait en sorte de se rappeler effectivement qu'est-ce qui est arrivé par rapport à Mme Joyce. Mais c'est aussi un moment pour nous de pouvoir se réunir et de pouvoir aussi se parler.
Maricela Amador, APTN National News, Joliette, Quebec.
In Saskatoon, ahead of Orange Shirt Day, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jumu'at honored the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation by inviting the public to their mosque. They gathered hundreds of people together wearing orange shirts at their mosque in Saskatoon and opened with a prayer from Elder Roland Duquette, as well as Muslim prayers for residential school survivors to honor them. The Muslim communities held similar gatherings in various cities across Canada to recognize how the residential school system affected Indigenous peoples. Rashid Ahmed, the Saskatoon organizer for this event, says as newcomers to Canada, it's important to know Canada's true history, specifically the Indigenous history and the impact of residential schools.
It is very important for us as a newcomer and Muslim community to learn from our First Nations brothers and sisters, their history, their culture, and give them respect, because our history is very similar to Indigenous community, and most of the people who are living here in Canada from our community were persecuted in country. So we know the pain, and we know your feelings. So that's why it is very important for us to organize Orange Shirt Day.
Time to step aside for a quick break. Still to come, ground is broken on a new facility to help people transition out of the child welfare system. Welcome back. Treaty 8 First Nations in Alberta broke ground Wednesday on a $35 million transitional housing project for youth who've been a part of the child welfare system. APTN's Chris Stewart has the details.
Next fall, Treaty 8 youth ages 15 to 26 who have been part of the Alberta child welfare system will have 2 new buildings in Edmonton to call home. Kiwitin Achakazida means North Star in Cree and Dene. It will provide supports for youth who aged out of the child welfare system. Supports like housing, a basic income, non-insured medical and dental, education-related costs, and more. This has been years in the making.
I'm very proud to be part of this group as a board member to see this day become a reality. And my hope is for the youth to be much more successful than we are today.
Chief Ramona Horseman told the crowd that the program will reconnect youth with their culture.
The child welfare system, the Western welfare system, has really been detrimental for our people, losing our languages, our cultural identity, and our connection to the Great Spirit and the Creator. And those are the things that we need to get back.
The location is in Ward Dene in Northeast Edmonton. Cree Métis City Councillor Aaron Paquette says supports like these are desperately needed.
Trauma just doesn't stop at 18. You know, you don't just suddenly become an adult and you have all the answers. There traditionally have been not enough supports for Indigenous youth, and so this is starting to turn that tide. They will have those supports. They will have the time to figure out what their dreams are, what their path will be, and what they need.
He says this $35 million project, funded $29 million by the federal government and $6 million from the City of Edmonton, will provide much-needed services.
And the fact that this will exist to give them that is just one of the things that, for me growing up, what a difference it would have made. And for everyone in my generation and the generations that came before. And so for our youth to have this now coming for them, it fills my heart.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
A small bridge in northern Saskatchewan has been named Reconciliation Bridge. The bridge connects the village of Air Ronge, Lac La Ronge Indian Band, and the town of La Ronge. It's also a major connector to Saskatchewan's north. Elder Tom Roberts unveiled the new sign during a ceremony on the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Officials said the new name will help the communities move forward in a meaningful way. Time for one last break, but stick around, there's more to come. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. April Isidore provided us with today's photo of the day from Drift Pile Cree Nation, located about 3 hours northwest of Edmonton, Alberta. As this looks like a double rainbow hangs over the community. Thanks, April. Send us your pictures to share@aptn.ca to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 22 for Halifax, 20 in Fredericton, 7 with showers in Kuujjuaq, 7 and cloudy in Nain, sunny and 29 in Montreal, 26 under the sun in Chibougamau, rain and 26 in Sault Ste. Marie, 28 in North Bay, showers and 24 in Thunder Bay, rain and 27 in Sioux Lookout, 9 with showers in Churchill, cloudy and 11 in the Pas, 14 with rain in Winnipeg and Brandon, 13 in showers in Dauphin, 13 with rain in Regina, 11 with showers in Saskatoon, 9 and rain in Meadow Lake, cloudy and 10 in Stony Rapids. Over in northern Alberta, showers in 9 for Fort Chip and Fort McMurray, 12 with rain in Edmonton, Red Deer and Calgary. Showers in 15 for Vancouver, rain and 21 in Kamloops, 12 for Prince George, 6 in Dease Lake, 0 with snow in Old Crow, +4 in Whitehorse, 7 with rain in Yellowknife, +2 with snow in Norman Wells, 0 and flurries in Sax Harbor, snow and 3 in Paulatuck, 4 for Chesterfield, showers and 5 in Whale Cove, 0 with snow in Resolute, +1 with flurries in Joe Haven. Mi'kmaq History Month has officially begun in Nova Scotia, and it kicked off with a flag-raising ceremony at Halifax's City Hall.
It is a day for us to reflect on the spirit and the intent of our treaties, and to recognize that despite being centuries old, they remain strong.
A good partner. We hope we're showing that we intend to be a good partner in the spirit of peace and friendship, truth and reconciliation.
The ceremony recognized both the start of Mi'kmaq History Month and Treaty Day, which fell on the 1st of October. 30 years ago, October was declared the official month to recognize and celebrate Mi'kmaq culture and heritage. This year's theme focuses on traditional Mi'kmaq games and pastimes. Geodesic greenhouses look like igloos, and they're popping up in remote communities across the country, all in an effort to fight food insecurity. Sav Jonesa has more.
Food insecurity in remote communities is a common issue. Many perishables, like vegetables, cost a lot to be shipped, which means fresh, affordable produce is hard to find.
People want what is fresh, what is local, what is healthy, what they know was put into it. They've created the fertilizer and the soil themselves. That's what people will want to eat.
That's Reagan Solotki, Executive Director of Green Igloo, a nonprofit that helps marginalized communities put fresh food on their table through projects like building greenhouses.
What we want to see is communities actually creating enough caloric content themselves. And now, don't get me wrong, I am not a vegetarian. I don't think you can fix all your problems of food insecurity, especially in Indigenous and First Nations communities, with just lettuce, obviously. But carrots, potatoes, onions, they are staples of a lot of diets, and they're expensive. They are heavy. It is hard for them to get to those remote communities. And, you know, a lot of people living on reserves or in those remote communities are struggling to get their basic needs met.
This year alone, Green Igloo has worked with 10 communities across Canada to build 27 greenhouses for their schools, food banks, and of course, the community.
This year, our 10 communities, 7 of them were fully funded through us finding funding for them. So we are trying to take all of those things off people's plates. You don't have a project manager that's able to put all of your energy into building this. Come work with us. We will help you with that.
Each project is designed to suit each community's needs and is owned and operated by the community with ongoing support from Green Igloo.
the community response once they realize what the situation is, that it is their greenhouse, it is their community garden, it is their food infrastructure project, and that there are jobs that they are being attached to that are not with Green Igloo, that are actually with their community, and that they can do whatever they want to. We're really seeing wonderful input from the communities, ideas, lots of great workshops happening.
Sab Jonesa, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
APTN's current affairs programs all return this week. New episodes of APTN Investigates, Nation to Nation, and In Focus will debut. It all starts tonight with the premiere of the 10th season of Face to Face. Our guest is longtime journalist Duncan McHugh, who is now a professor of journalism at Carleton University.
When I started 25 years ago, I didn't meet many young Indigenous students who saw a place for themselves in the newsrooms. The newsrooms were predominantly white. You know, Canadian media has had and still has a whiteness problem. And so when Indigenous people would show up in the newsroom, they didn't feel culturally safe. They would pitch ideas that weren't getting listened to. And they'd say, and they'd move on. After a very short internship or something like that, say, forget it. This place doesn't want to listen to who I am. They want to turn me into what they think a reporter looks like, sounds like, the kinds of stories that reporters tell.
And you can catch that whole episode with Duncan McHugh in less than 2 minutes time right here. And be sure to join us at 3 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow for the season premiere of In Focus. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. We leave you tonight with Mi'kmaq lobster harvester of the Sipekne'katik Mi'kmaq Nation posted this video on social media of a shark alongside their boat in St. Mary's Bay in southwestern Nova Scotia last Sunday. The fishers say a shark in the bay is a rare occurrence, and the shark may be looking for seals as a preferred food. Have a good night.